I've been asked by a couple of people if I could do a size comparison between my new Springfield Armory XDs and my old P290 from SIG. Everyone knows I carry this gun a lot because of the size, and I just got this one. So they wanted to see a comparison between the two, so I thought I would do that here real quick. First off, we'll look at the height here. As you can see, there's not a great deal of difference between these two guns height-wise. Now, the SIG is a little shorter, because if you put my thumb, if I rest my finger here and I rest the bottom of each gun on my finger, you can see there a little bit of difference at the top height-wise. It's not a huge difference, but it is a little bit of difference, and to me, that's the length of the gun that matters the most when concealed carrying, so it does give a little bit of advantage to the P290 here. If we look at them lengthwise, you can see the SIG P290 has a fairly large difference here. It has a little bit of an advantage. It's much shorter. Of course, it does have a shorter barrel too, so that might give you a little less ballistics. But you know, the barrel's not really shorter. If you put it right here, if you line up chamber to chamber, you see the barrel is only like a 1/4 inch difference. It's not that inch difference you might be given the impression of just by looking at the guns. So barrel's a little shorter, but the overall length of the gun is quite a bit shorter. Now, I will honestly say I've never had much of a trouble with the length of the gun this way being much for carry, but it depends on where you carry. If you carry appendix carry, of course this is a very big factor. This gun would appendix carry much easier than this gun simply because of the length of the slide. Now, just dealing with the thickness of the two guns, I mean, I know it's hard to tell by looking here because the top bevels are different. The SIG is not beveled at all, and this has a pretty strong bevel on it. But the difference is only about 1 millimeter. This is 24 millimeters wide. This is 23. The Springfield is actually narrower, which is odd considering this is a 9 millimeter. This is a 45. So as far as thickness goes, the Springfield wins it, but it's not a difference that's even going to be noticeable. Now, as far as weight in the hand, you're not going to notice the difference between these two guns. Even though this is only 9 millimeters 45, the weight is very similar. Loaded up, there'll be a little bit more of a difference with this, but as far as overall weight of just the guns themselves, not much difference. Nothing I think anyone would really notice. Now let's deal with the thickness of the grips, and as you can see, they're almost identical. They have almost identical front to back dimensions on these two. They are very similar in thickness, but the SIG is a little bit thicker at the front than the Springfield is a little thicker at the front than the SIG because it is a 45 and not a 9 millimeter. Now you will also get one more round of 9 millimeter than you will 45, but would you rather have 7 rounds of 9 millimeter or 6 rounds of 45? That would be a personal preference. Now, one thing I will have to say, the Springfield Armory grip feels more comfortable in the hand than the SIG grip does. The SIG grip does not feel as contoured as the Springfield Armory, so I'd have to give Springfield Armory a little bit of an advantage there. Now, one more difference between the two guns would be the sights. The SIG has night sights, standard night sights. The XDS does not have night sight, but it does have that fiber optic sight on the front there, and that thing really catches the light. So in dim lighting, it does really well, but the darker it would get, the more you'd want the night sights. So I kind of like the night sights on this one, although I'm really liking this sight on the XD2, so that would also probably just be preference. The main difference between the two guns is going to be hammer versus striker. But you know, that's not as big a difference as you might think here because this does not have double strike capability. If this was the newer P290, which does have double strike capability, I would say hammer all day long. I like the hammer much better than I do a striker fire because you get that second strike capability. But this one, since it does not have that, there's very little difference between the two platforms when you don't have double strike capability. So on that, it's just a wash on these two, whichever one you like better, striker or hammer. Both of them have fairly decent triggers. I will have to give the advantage on the trigger to the XDS if you like a shorter reset or a more noticeable reset, because it does have a nice noticeable clicky reset, whereas the double action, you know, it's a full travel to the front and then a full travel to the rear every time like you're shooting a revolver. So it would be your preference of which one you like better, but if you're more like someone who likes a Glock trigger or anything, you're going to like the Springfield Armory better. So which of these is the better gun? Well, you know, I can't really say which one's better. I can tell you which one I like better. I probably like the SIG better. Just overall, I like SIGs and I like the way it's built. But this gun gives it a run for its money, and it's going to be hard to beat in a 45 caliber package. So really, which one's better? It's going to be hard to say. Now, one last thing I did want to show is the SIG next to a Glock. This is a Glock 33, so it'd be the same size as the 26 and the 27. As you can see, the Glock is much thicker because it is a double stack gun. Lengthwise, about the same, not much difference. So the biggest difference is the thickness. The heights are very similar to, I've got an extended mag on this one. If I didn't have the extended mags, they'd be pretty much the same height. But so I know that tells a lot of people, oh, this gun's much slimmer, so let's run out and get it instead of a Glock. Well, I hate to say it, but I have never noticed much of a difference just from like a 1/4 inch difference in thickness. At its thickest point, this gun is a 1/4 inch thicker than this. And that's at the plastic part right here where it bows out. At the slide, it's only like an 1/8 of an inch difference. So if you've already got a gun like this, I don't see any reason to run out and buy this unless you're wanting a 45 single stack gun, because Glock does not make a 45 single stack like this. It doesn't. They don't make anything comparable to this. But if you're just okay with 40 or 9mm or 357 SIG and you've already got a baby Glock, this gun, there's not really much need for it unless you want a stainless slide or you want a 45. Because size-wise and carry-wise, they're not going to be much different.